Antonio Conte has been successful at top clubs like Juventus and Inter Milan, winning multiple league titles. Now he aims to bring similar success to Napoli. Here's an in-depth look at how Conte might set up Napoli using his favored 3-1-4-2 formation. This system leverages the wide areas of the field through the wing-backs whilst also remaining defensively solid through the centre-backs and of course the defensive midfielder. It is designed to be compact defensively whilst also being expansive in the attack. For the tactics going forward and the tactical vision, it will be set to kick and rush. Conte's tactics often involve quick transitions and long balls over the top either into the wing-backs or into the forward line. This method often looks to bypass the midfield, going directly into the forward line or into the wider channels, but it can still use the central zones with the passing sequences that the midfield will go ahead and create. Conte's side often look to play out from the back, playing those short passes into the centre-backs who will then look to either play long balls over the top to the front line or those short passes into the midfield zones. For the defense and the defensive style, it will be set to balanced. This will look to combine central pressing with a structured defensive outlet, making sure that the structure of the side is very much intact at all times and very difficult for the opposition to go ahead and break down. To aid with that defensive structure, the team's width will be set to 25, allowing it to be a very condensed, narrow structure in the central areas of the park. Effectively, this will look to try and cut off the midfield zones and the supply line from those central areas of the field for the opposition, forcing them into those longer balls or even into the wider channels of the field. The team's depth is a very flexible entity to this set of tactics. It can vary between 60 and of course 35, creating either a high mid block or a lower mid block in certain moments, allowing for Conte's side just to make sure that structurally, defensively wise, they are very sound and they cannot be exploited. It does depend on the context of the game as well as the opposition. If the opposition are looking to invite the pressure, you can push the depth higher up and look to incite that pressure from those wider areas as well as the forward line. If the opposition are looking to dominate the play and look to try and dominate this Napoli side, they will look to drop a bit deeper and make sure that defensively wise, they are very solid and sound. As for the offense and the build-up play, it will be set to long ball. This will encourage either the centre-backs or the DM to play those longer balls into the wider channels or directly into the forward line. This tactic will look to use the team's pace and directness, creating quick goal-scoring opportunities. The team's chance creation will be set to direct passing, and Conte often emphasizes direct actions leading to offensive outlets. The attackers will look to make penetrating runs into the opposition's backline area, looking to exploit them as much as possible with their pace and direct running patterns. At the same time, you will be looking to play vertical passes further forward to try and get those players into those goal-scoring opportunities. The team's offensive width will be set to 85, and this will look to try and stretch the opposition's backline and look to create those gaps between the defenders for your side to go ahead and exploit. The wingbacks are absolutely pivotal to the success of this team, stretching the opposition, looking to hug the touchlines themselves and supply those crosses into the box for the attackers. And speaking of which, the players in the box will be set to 5, providing adequate players in the attacking area for those crosses and cutbacks supplied from the wingbacks. And then finally, the corners and the free kicks, as per always, will be set to 4. So we're going to take a look at the individual play instructions, starting off at the back with the goalkeeper in Marais, and he will be set to come for crosses. Often Conte relies on his goalkeeper as well as the backline to try and minimize those aerial threats, so you want him being very aggressive when it comes to those balls being fired into the box. The goalkeeper also has the responsibility of initiating the first phase build-up by playing those short passes either into the centre-backs or into the defensive midfielder. In terms of your 3 centre-backs, they will all be set to the same set of instructions, and that will be conservative interceptions. You want them more or less giving the opposition some space and making sure that structurally they are very sound, not overly being exploited or stepping up and stepping out and creating holes in the backline area. They will also share the responsibility of being able to collect the ball with those goalkeeper restarts in that first phase build-up and play it further forward, whether it's a long ball or a short pass into the midfield zones. 2 players to consider for the centre-back role could be Buongiorno as well as Scalvini. For the role of your defensive midfielder, he has the key instructions of setting the tempo whilst also being able to initiate the short sequence passing movements in the central zones, whilst also being able to play those long balls either into the wider channels or further forward into the 2 strikers. So his instructions will have a bit more of a zonal presence, looking to try and cut out and stifle the play in that midfield zone, whilst also being able to stay back while attacking and combine very nicely with the centre-backs, looking to interchange quite a few passes between them, inviting the opposition's pressure, and then looking to try and fire those long balls or those short passes further forward. At the same time, you don't want him to be too aggressive, so normal interceptions will be a necessity, as well as being the deep-lying playmaker, popping up in those deeper positions, showing for the ball for those goalkeeper restarts, and always being a passing option in that first phase build-up. And then finally, you want him to be able to cover the central zones. A player to consider for this role could be Richie. Taking a look at your two central midfielders, both will have the same set of instructions and roles. They'll both be set to being a balanced attacking supporter, looking to be an all-action phase midfielder, dropping a bit deeper at times, supporting the defense, or being very involved higher up the field in the final phase of the attack. As you'll see here for the support on crosses, it will be set to stay on the edge of the box, but we do see every now and then one of the players breaking into the box along with maybe one of the wing backs. The interceptions will be set to normal, and you want your two central midfielders to be able to cover the central zones as much as possible, creating that nice compact central structure, whilst also having the ability to manually drag them out of that central area and look to try and cover the wider areas if needed. And then finally, in terms of the offensive side of things, when in possession of the ball, you want to see them trying to stretch the play, operating in those half spaces, sometimes drifting to those wider channels, combining very effectively and creating overloads in the wider areas of the field. As you'll see here for Zielinski, he's got the same role and instructions as well. Two players to consider for the role of the central midfielder could be Castrovilli as well as Sensi. Now onto the role of your two wingbacks. They will also look to be very good box-to-box players, looking to be involved in all phases of the play, whether it's the defensive side of things or providing those crosses or those cutbacks in the final phase of play. So you want them to be able to come back on defense, consistently playing as that, aggressive wingback that does get forward, but also has the defensive duties to come back and track back in those wider areas. You want them to be able to stay wide, providing a lot of the width down at the touchlines, as well as the support runs being set to having a balanced support. Sometimes breaking in behind, other times dropping a bit deeper, coming slightly into the midfield zones and showing for the ball for those passing options, as well as you want them to be very aggressive when pressing in those wider zones, making sure that they are being very imposing towards the opposition player. And then finally, because they will be wing backs, you want them on the edge of the box, either recycling the play or supplying crosses or cutbacks. But every now and then, we do see them make that back post run to try and attack those 50-50 back post duels. As you'll see here for the left wing back, he's got the same role and instructions as well. Conte's sides have always revolved around a strong physical target man. Now, this would normally be the right striker. In the past, it's been Lukaku, it's been players like Costa, or maybe even a Morata in certain moments. But we will take a look at the right striker here, and he would be set to having a balance with, allowing him to sometimes drift slightly wider or maintain that more central attacking area, whilst also having a mixed attack. Now, this can be set to target player, but because it's Raspadori, who isn't the most physical of players, you want to try and incorporate a mixed bag of results, allowing him to sometimes break in behind, combine very effectively with the other striker, whilst also having the ability in certain moments to drop a bit deeper and hold up the play and link it up very nicely with the other midfielders. Both of the two strikers will be set to having aggressive interceptions. We have said this in the past, but with an Antonio Conte side, he doesn't overly want them pressing, but the two forwards up front can look to lightly press the opposition's backline, forcing a few errors or mistakes for them to go ahead and capitalize on. And then finally, the right striker will be set to stay forward. You want him being the out there ball, having the ability to hold up the play and link it up higher up the field. Two players to consider for this role could be Keane as well as Pinamonti. And then finally, onto the role of Kvaratskhelia as that left striker. I do think that in Conte's system, he will have a more direct attacking role, playing up front, allowing him to drift all over the place, and more so drift into that wide half space in terms of the left-hand side. So he'll be set to drift wide as well as getting behind. You want to try and use his pace at all times to try and create space, either for the other striker or for the midfielders looking to break in behind and be an offensive threats for those long balls over the top. Aggressive interceptions will be applied for him, as well as the ability to have a basic defensive support. Sometimes you do see him dropping a bit deeper, operating between the lines and being that linking chain to the other striker, who will be making those runs in behind as well. And there you go, people. That is how I would implement Antonio Conte's tactics and style of play into the current Napoli side. Of course, he is the man that has been heavily linked with the job in real life, and I do think that in the next few days we will be getting a here we go from certain journalists, as well as, the club announcing it as an official. He will be the manager for next season for this Napoli side. I do think that these tactics could work very, very well with the current playing staff, but there will be and need to be a few changes and a few other players brought in to make the system a true success. But anyways, we are going to hop on into the gameplay. Please don't forget to smash that like button and do all that good stuff before we get there, but we will be discussing the tactics in further detail in the gameplay segments. Okay, people, we are up against Inter Milan for the gameplay. Now, this will be a side that does look to dominate the play and the proceedings, and of course, it is Conte's former side that he helped construct to be the champions of Serie A this season. Obviously, he was there, 2 years ago? or so, 2 or so years ago, which is, not that long ago. Helped redefine what Inter Milan were all about, and helped set them up for some great success. And maybe he could do the same with this Napoli side. Now, if you are a Napoli fan, let me know. Do you like the appointments? How do you feel about, Conte being a former Juventus, coach, a former Inter Milan coach? And how do you feel about him now being the rumored favored Napoli coach? I think, to be honest, in terms of his style of play, he would be perfect. He would suit the players, especially with, rumored players like Victor Osimhen set to leave. I think that he could bring in a few players that could definitely, fill the void, and his system and style of play would definitely help, ease the pain of losing a superstar player like a Victor Osimhen. And as you'll see here, Kvaratskhelia dropping a bit deeper, looking just to stretch the play with a few passes. We will look to not exactly dominate the play, because I don't expect us to do it. It will be a slight goal of mine, but it's not really the main aim of the game. Just, circulating possession here. And as you see there, Kvaratskhelia not really taking up the central zone himself, but operating slightly wider than normal. And it's a great cutback, and it's a great opportunity for Kvaratskhelia to put the ball in the back of the net. Another player that has been linked with loose rumors set to leave, but I think that this summer at least, if Osimhen is set to leave, Kvaratskhelia will definitely be staying. I think it would be crazy for Napoli to sell their two best players and think it's going to be okay for next season, especially with a manager like Conte coming in. He does need to have some established quality players in the side already. We saw that in previous sides that he went into. He does need to have some, form of building blocks to then work with and then evolve and develop into his own system and style of play. But a great cutback from the wing back to Kvaratskhelia, who operated in that slightly more central zone and put the ball in the back of the net, cutting through this Inter Milan defense like a hot knife through butter. Good ball into Zielinski. Zielinski plays a great ball, and Raspadori just made an advancing run too far forward there, and the ball gets turned over. But so far, the defensive structure has been quite good. Has been very good, in fact. Not overly looking to engage, and that is another thing. If you are playing with this set of instructions and tactics, don't use your central defenders when coming back on defense. Try to, select your other players, maybe your defensive midfielder, your central midfielders, and try and bring them back on defense rather than using your centre backs. Because if you do, it often tends to break the natural structure that you are trying to implement with this Conte side. And of course, your centre backs will not overly look to engage. So if you can keep them intact, structurally wise, it will very much help with your defensive outlets. But anyways, Lobotka on the ball, looking to just maintain the play. Good ball. Good ball yet again. Just broken up there. And Darmian in possession of the ball here. And we have pressed him slightly wider than normal. And Frank Zambo and Guisa has been very good as well, just making those offensive runs. But we haven't really been able to find him. Although right there we have Raspadori collects it nicely and fires it home. And a great bit of combination play in the central zones into Frank Zambo and Guisa, who finds the ball into the striker, who makes that run off of the defender and puts it in the back of the net. Not too bad, not too shabby. And I do apologize about the bird that you might hear in the background. It is flying over my house and it is making noise. It's celebrating the goals of Raspadori and Kvaratskhelia. A fantastic strike from the centre forward. And to be honest, guys, I do think that Raspadori could play in this role. I do. I think he does have some underrated elements of his game where he does have the ability to hold up the play. But I also think that he might be suited to playing in the Kvaratskhelia role, playing as that player that can drift into that wider left space and operate with his pace and use his link-up play and operate between the lines in certain moments. Whereas a player like Osimhen is more suited to that right striker role, or maybe even a Lukaku. There have been rumors. I don't know, like, if I'm a Napoli fan, I'd be quite mad about these rumors, but there have been rumors that Conte wants to bring the likes of Lukaku to Napoli. Now, yeah, I don't know. Like, Lukaku has had a decent season with Roma, but he hasn't been, amazing to warrant bringing him in to possibly be the replacement for a player like Victor Osimhen. So yeah, but anyways, that's the first half done. 2-0 to the good. Some very good interchanging play in the central zones. We need to play a few more longer balls. I will say that we haven't really been able to display that, but the runs in behind have been there on a consistent threat with the wider players and of course the strikers being very involved in those actions and phases of play. But so far, so good. Okay, so taking a look at the halftime stats, and we have been able to dominate this Inter Milan side with 60% possession to their 40. I do expect that to change in the second half with Inter Milan under Inzaghi looking to dominate the proceedings and look to, you know, involve themselves a lot more with the ball as well as in our defensive areas of the field. We've had 2 shots to their 0, both shots resulting in a goal. We've had more passes than them. They've had more tackles. They've had more tackles won. The interceptions is tied up at 2 apiece, but our passing accuracy has been better than theirs. The shot accuracy, obviously, 2 goals in 2 shots. And the dribble accuracy has also, or the dribble success rates, I should say, has also been better. So in terms of the passing sequences that have occurred, a lot of it has been in the central zones. And this will debunk the fact and the myth that whenever I say, guys, it will be kick and rush, a lot of people overreact and say, but they don't just play hoofball. They don't just play prime Sam Allardyce ball or prime Sean Dyche ball. No, they don't. But with an Antonio Conte system and style of play, they can look to go long. It is always a number one factor in the offense that you want to have that threat consistently making those runs in behind. And in turn, with those players running in behind all the time, it will open up space in the midfield zones for the likes of Frank Zambo and Guisa, Lobotka and Zielinski to pick up those spaces and effectively be a good offensive threat in their own right. So we have seen a lot of passes being played between the midfielders and of course the slightly wider players. But as you'll also see, there are quite a lot of vertical passes that have been played. A lot of forward passes. You want to have that. You want to have those little bounce passes into the forwards who then lay it off into either the wing backs or the centre. Sorry, no, I didn't say centre forwards. The central midfielders. So you want to have that. As you'll see there, there are a lot of forward passes, which is good, which is great. We've only been able to be bad on 2 passes. Only 2 passes have really failed to go through, which is not too bad at all. But yes, the halftime analysis. Very happy with this. Okay, kicking things off here in the second half and playing it back to the centre-backs. And that is another thing. I would like to get the centre-backs slightly more involved in the play. We do see the long ball opportunity down the byline into the fullback, who does take a very, very bad touch and loses it immediately. But we are pressing. We are doing our thing. Slight pressing from the wider zone. Or, sorry, from the central midfielder in that slightly wider zone. Manually pulling him out. Helping track the wider player in Damian, who isn't the quickest of players. So, you know, some good central pressing here, forcing the man back. And as I've said, don't control your defenders. I've gone ahead and controlled my centre back, almost pulling him out of position. But structurally, look at that, very sound, very, very sound. Good ball into Zielinski. What can Zielinski try and pick out here? He gets tackled. He gets tackled and loses the ball immediately. And this is what I meant. The likes of Inter Milan, they will look to be very aggressive in the second half, looking to get the ball into our defensive zones and create offensive opportunities. Some good play. Good play out from the back, calm, composed as you like. A square pass into the midfield, back into Zielinski, into the likes of Kvaratskhelia, who does play a quick long ball over the top. I think he is onside. Yes, he is, most certainly. No real targets in the box in that moment at time. And yeah, it was a good ball. It was a good first time pass into the midfield zone. I'm sorry, into the attacking zone. And unfortunately, Kvaratskhelia did not respond in time, which led to the offensive breakdown. And looking just to get on the ball here. Good. Oh my goodness me. Tackling Lobotka like that. Good ball into Kvaratskhelia, who has drifted slightly wider. Just looking to retain possession a little bit, not looking to be too aggressive with it off the bat. We do know that Inter Milan can also be a very good transition side themselves. So we do need to just make sure that we aren't exploiting ourselves in the backline region. Good switch of play into the wider zone. DiMarco. Sorry, not DiMarco. Di Lorenzo. Di Lorenzo yet again. Fires in a great pass. Back into the left back. Fires it across. And first time effort. And it's blocked away from the Milan defense. The Inter Milan defense, I should say. And we are working the ball very, very well here. I don't know why I played that pass. I don't know why I played that pass. I'm supposed to push X. But we have looked after the ball very, very well. And we are doing a very good job at just maintaining Inter Milan at an arm's length. Just making sure that they can't really exploit us that well. Some great back post defense from the opposition. Now we can look to quickly move. Transition, shift gears here. Kvaratskhelia being picked up by the opposition. Press, press, press. That forward line needs to press. Central zones need to press. Di Lorenzo picking up the wide runner. Back post area yet again, but cleared away from a very strong and great defensive action from Nathan. And that might be offside. It is 5 minutes to go. We have absolutely battered the slot. 2-0 to the good. Playing that short pass, and now we will look. Quick ball over the top into the wider zone. Into Frank Zambo and Guiso, who has played a terrible ball. Hospital pass into the defense of Inter Milan. And again, let's not select the centre backs. Let's keep them in their defensive area. And as you'll see, if you have a look at what the centre backs are doing, they're just maintaining the distance between themselves and the opposition attack. And it's very hard, therefore, for that opposition attack to go ahead and make those runs in behind, keeping the space very tight, making it very difficult to exploit. Little ball around the corner, but it is fired into Zielinski, and that will be full time. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to smash up the likes, subscribe, and all that good stuff if you are new to the channel. I might think that we did do quite well in the second half with the ball retention and all that good stuff. So the match facts. Wow, actually, I lied. We didn't do as well as what I thought. Although, as expected, I did say that Inter Milan would try and, be a bit more aggressive and involved in the attacking phases of play. They still didn't fire off a shot, though. Our defense was still very solid. They did have a few moments, a few good crosses, whipped into some dangerous areas, the likes of Nathan dealing with the back post threats. But at the end of the day, we ended up with 3 shots and 2 goals. You will have a very solid defensive outlet. 100 passes exchanged between the players. Goal expectancy of 1.8. We got 2. So the second half was more of a just see out the game, make sure that defensively we're sound and structured, and very much that was the case. So anyways, until the next time, until the next one, I hope you guys have a damn great day, and I'm out of here.